the complete evolution of Tyrannosaurus. This ancient fiend of hell has long since died out, but even in films and pictures, the image of this monster gives me goosebumps. You don't really need to introduce him. This is a Tyrannosaurus in person. Today we will follow the complete evolution of this extraordinary animal and try to satisfy the curiosity of our viewers as much as possible with the theories and facts of scientists around the world. So, let's go! This huge predator became famous thanks to the Jurassic Park film franchise and is firmly entrenched in the minds of viewers around the world. With its huge mouth and teeth the size of bananas, it became a real nightmare for ancient animals and, of course, for movie heroes. A Tyrannosaurus in a movie is like the coolest actor on stage. He comes out, takes a couple of steps, growls, and all the spectators are already squeezing into their chairs. In real life, this giant was approximately 12 meters long and weighed up to 9 tons. It's like a walking mountain of muscles and teeth. But the funny thing is that in the movies he is always chasing someone, although scientists believe that in real life he could be a scavenger. And another fun fact is his short arms. In the movies they always look kind of ridiculous, as if A.T. Rex is trying to reach the last piece of pizza, but can't. The ancestors of Tyrannosaurus were much smaller than their famous descendant, the main representative of the superfamily. They had to go through a long and difficult evolutionary path before becoming the real kings of the dinosaurs. These little dinosaurs ran through the ancient forests, looking more like domesticated chickens with a bad temper than fearsome predators. They were no bigger than a large rooster and proudly thought, someday we will become great. Evolution treated them like a strict trainer, forcing them to run, jump and fight for every piece of food. Gradually, their descendants became larger, stronger, and smarter. Over the course of millions of years, they acquired powerful jaws, long teeth and, of course, that very royal posture. These little dinosaurs have learned to use their brains and brawn to survive in a harsh world. Each step in their evolution was like a new level in a video game, more and more difficult. But they did not give up and moved forward towards their dream of becoming real giants. Found and described in England in 1910, this small carnivorous predator gets its name from the presence of a crest at the tip of its snout. For a long time, Proceratosaurus was considered a relative of Ceratosaurus only because of this crest. This poor fellow wandered through the pages of textbooks and scientific articles, mistakenly assigned to an alien group of theropods. And he probably thought, well, how can this be? I'm different, completely different. And only at the beginning of the 21st century, thanks to phylogenetic research, the scientific understanding of this dinosaur changed. It turns out that the Procedurthosaurus was not a relative of the Ceratosaurus, but a member of the Coelurosaur group. This group included Oviraptorosaurs, Ornitholmosaurs, Maniraptorians, including birds, and even tyrannosaurs. Imagine, Proceratosaurus was a closer relative to our modern birds than to that terrible Ceratosaurus. Given such small dimensions, the ancestors of Tyrannosaurs were true masters of caution. Small predators had to constantly look around and beware of the much larger and more terrible predators of that time, megalosaurs. The small ancestors of Tyrannosaurs ran through ancient forests, hiding behind every bush. They knew that if the Megalosaurus spotted them, the game might not end in their favor. Megalosaurus was like the older bully at school that all the younger ones tried to stay away from. But these ancestors did not give up. They were cunning and agile. It was thanks to these skills that they were able to survive and ultimately evolve into the fearsome tyrannosaurs we all know and love. Don't forget about the Guanlong predator. The name of this dinosaur, Guanlong, translates as crowned dragon. And as you might guess, such a majestic name is associated with its special feature, a large crest on the skull. This cone was not just an ornament, but a real crown for Guanlong. This crest was like a badge of honor, something like an ancient dinosaur passport with the inscription Important Pepper. But, in addition to his crown, Guanlong was also a dexterous and fast hunter. This dinosaur lived about 160 million years ago and was the ancestor of those same tyrannosaurs that everyone loves to talk about. Yes, Guanlong was one of the first representatives of tyrannosauroids, and it was he who laid the foundations for future formidable predators. Guanlong was not very large, about 3 meters in length, but this did not stop him from being a true master of his craft. Thanks to his speed and sharp claws, he was a threat to small animals, who would certainly tremble in fear at the sight of his crown. This cone may have played the role of not only decoration, but also helped in mating games. Imagine how Guanlong meets his beloved and begins to show her his comb, as if saying, "Look at my crown. Is it possible to resist such a handsome man?" Guanlong, which, like its relative Proceratosaurus, was first classified by paleontologists as a completely different clade of theropods. At first, scientists thought that Guanlong was related to the Allosauroid Monolophosaurus, but, as they say, not everything is so simple in the world of ancient dinosaurs. This dinosaur was a real hunter. But bad luck, in the same area there are both larger and, frankly, much more fearsome predators. On the one hand, we have Monolophosaurus, a 5-meter dinosaur that also loved to snack on something fresh. This big guy was twice the size of Guanlong and probably loved to show who was boss. When the Guanlong saw his relative, he most likely immediately switched to the run if you want to live, and ran as fast as he could. But that's not all. There was also an even more formidable rival, a Sinraptor, already 9 meters long. This giant was a real colossus, and when he appeared on the horizon, Guanlong probably didn't even try to argue. He knew that it was better not to catch the eye of such a dinosaur tank. Guanlong was a master at saving his own skin, and despite being a predator himself, sometimes he had to quickly change his dinner plans and go into escape mode. Let's just say the hunter is a hunter, but he also had to be careful in this harsh world. A story about a real lizard of noble origin, Calescus aristoticus. This name speaks for itself, because the nobility of this lizard lies in its relationship with Tyrannosaurus. Calescus lived at about the same time as Proceratosaurus, 167 to 165 million years ago. But unlike his relative, our noble friend was perhaps a little larger. Scientists suggest that the length of its body could reach 5 meters. But there is one catch. It is difficult to say this with complete confidence, because all that was found were skeletal fragments of the upper jaw and limbs. A complex dinosaur puzzle with most of the pieces missing. Kylesque, apparently, was that mysterious gentleman. On the one hand, it had Tyrannosaurus relatives, and on the other, its size could have impressed any passing dinosaur. If he could speak, he would probably say, "Yes, I have noble blood, and I will show it to you as soon as they find the rest of my skeleton." But be that as it may, Kylesque is another exciting page in the Book of Ancient Evolution. Even from pieces of his jaw and limbs one can imagine what a formidable and majestic creature he could be. Here's a story about the next theropod in the branch of development Yutyrannus, whose name already speaks for itself. You means feather. Tyrannus immediately hints at family ties with Tyrannosaurs, and the species name Huali is translated from Chinese as beautiful. Feathered, beautiful, and at the same time formidable dinosaur. It's as if a Tyrannosaurus Rex decided to put on a fancy jacket and go conquer the world. Yutyrannus, although it belongs to the family of Proceratosaurids, that is, primitive tyrannosaurs, stands out for its very impressive size. An adult individual could reach a length of as much as 9 meters, and the weightest predator almost 1,500 kilograms. This is not a joke, but a real walking tank with feathers. Now imagine that all 3 found specimens of Yutyrannus were discovered together. This suggests that these beauties probably led a gregarious lifestyle. Yes, can you imagine? Several 9-meter-long feathered tyrannosaurs walk together like a group of fashionable giants, hunting in the vast expanses of early Cretaceous China 125 million years ago. To be honest, this picture makes me a little uncomfortable. Imagine how such a flock of beautiful, but terrifyingly large predators appears on the horizon, and everything around falls silent. Even the bravest dinosaurs probably thought, maybe it's better to wait out this moment somewhere in the bushes. Another monster that walked around ancient China, Sinotyrannus. This ancient predator got its name for a reason. Sinotyrannus translates to Chinese tyrant, and just think what a cool title that was back then. This Chinese tyrant lived on the territory of modern China, and, apparently, was the real owner of those places. Imagine, such a Sinotyrannus is walking through ancient forests, and everyone around is just thinking, well, that's it, it's better to get out of his way, otherwise you never know. This beauty came from the same family as the famous Proceratosaurus, but, being a true Chinese tyrant, he, of course, kept his mark. Unlike his relatives, Sinotyrannus was even more impressive, and his name inspired respect even in those distant times. Sinotyrannus, like other tyrannosaurs, was at the top of the food chain, and probably feared no one. He could organize a hunt in the vastness of ancient China, and even the largest dinosaurs probably did not dare to argue with him. Let's take a look at these ancient tyrannosaurs, which we call Proceratosaurids. To make it easier for you, we call them ancient tyrannosaurs. But this does not mean at all that the Guanlong or the Kylesque are the direct ancestors of that very formidable Tyrannosaurus rex. Imagine, over 100 million years of evolution, how many different tyrannosaurs trampled our planet. It's like a family gathering, where everyone is similar, but each with their own character. Evolution is such a confusing matter that you can break your head trying to figure out who is related to whom. Alas, the preservation of fossils is a great rarity and a real success. Imagine how many bones have disappeared without a trace, and how many we still haven't found. Modern science is faced with only the slightest fragments of the Mesozoic fauna, as if someone is deliberately hiding this ancient secret from us. Those bones that managed to be imprinted in geological layers are literally grains of knowledge left to us by the ancients. So when we talk about Proceratosaurids and Tyrannosaurids, it is quite possible that they had one common ancestor, and they themselves were like sisters, only from different families. They could develop in parallel, remaining close relatives, but each line chose its own path. But you know what? That doesn't change the fact that all these guys we're talking about are real Tyrannosaurs. Guanlong, Kylescus, Sinotyrannus, all of them, whatever one may say, are the heirs of that great line of predators that ruled the world millions of years ago. And although we cannot say for sure which of them was Rex's direct ancestor, they were all part of this formidable and amazing family. In this issue, we will tell you the exciting story about the ancestors of one of the most unique predators of all time, Spinosaurus. Let's walk through his ancient family tree to understand how this giant became the amazing creature we know. Let's start from the very beginning. Spinosaurus, like many other dinosaurs, traces its lineage to a group of reptiles known as archosaurs. These ancient animals appeared on Earth about 250 million years ago. Archosaurs gave rise not only to dinosaurs, but also to birds and crocodiles. This was a kind of starting block from which the great race of evolution began. Let's move on. A group known as the theropods appears on the scene. These are bipedal predators, from which such famous dinosaurs as Tyrannosaurus and Allosaurus descended. It was among theropods that the foundation for the future Spinosaurus was laid. In theropods, one could already notice the traits that later developed in our hero. Bipedal gait, sharp teeth, and powerful jaws. Now we move on to a narrower group from which Spinosaurus was born, megalosauroids. This is a family of theropods that were quite large predators of their time. Megalosaurs were more traditional predator dinosaurs, living on land and hunting other dinosaurs. But evolution did not stand still, and one of the branches of megalosauroids took an unusual path. This is how Spinosauroids appear on the scene, and this is where the fun begins. One of the first representatives of this group was Baryonyx, a predator that had already begun to adapt to an aquatic lifestyle. Baryonyx had long, narrow jaws and claws adapted for catching fish. Baryonyx translates as heavy claw, and believe me, this is not just a pretty name, but a real hint of his formidable weapon. Baryonyx was a fairly large dinosaur. Its body length reached about 30 feet, and it was estimated to weigh about 1.5 tons. Its appearance was quite unusual for a predator. At first glance, it looked like a typical theropod, bipedal, with a long tail, sharp teeth, and powerful front legs. But what made Baryonyx stand out from others were its huge claws on its front paws and its elongated snout, which was more reminiscent of a crocodile. The main feature of Baryonyx was its huge claw on the first toe of the forelimbs, which could reach a length of up to 1 foot. Imagine how he used this claw for hunting. This was his main weapon, with which he could grab prey, tear flesh, and even snatch fish out of the water. Yes, Baryonyx was not only a hunter on land, but also an excellent fisherman. Baryonyx was a predator that fed primarily on fish, but could also hunt other dinosaurs and animals. One of Baryonyx's hunting methods was probably to wait for prey near bodies of water. Thanks to its long forelimbs, sharp teeth, and a good sense of smell, it could, with a well-aimed jump, capture fish or other animals that came to drink water. It is also suggested that Baryonyx could use its long head and sharp teeth to ambush prey, attacking it at close range. This is a tactic that many predatory dinosaurs may have used to successfully hunt. This was the first step towards becoming a full aquatic hunter like its descendant Spinosaurus. But Baryonyx was just the beginning. Before you is Suchomimus. Suchomimus was an impressive predator. Its body length reached about 36 feet, and it weighed approximately 3 to 5 tons. This dinosaur was distinguished by a long, narrow snout that resembled that of a crocodile. Its teeth were numerous and sharp, making it an ideal hunter of fish and other small animals. Like other spinosaurids, its teeth were not adapted for tearing meat, but rather for grasping and holding slippery prey. One of the features of Suchomimus was its long forelimbs equipped with powerful claws. Although the claws of Suchomimus were not as huge as those of Baryonyx, they were still quite impressive and were probably used for grasping and holding prey, as well as for digging for food. Ostafricosaurus is one of the Spinosaurids and lived about 150 million years ago, during the late Jurassic period. Ostafricosaurus was discovered in what is now Tanzania, East Africa, and is one of the most ancient and mysterious members of its group. Ostafricosaurus fossils found include mostly tooth fragments, making it one of the most difficult dinosaurs to study. Despite the paucity of material, Ostafricosaurus still turned out to be an important link in understanding the evolution of Spinosaurids, since it belongs to the earliest representatives of this group. Because Ostafricosaurus was an early member of its group, it was likely smaller and less specialized than its later relatives such as Spinosaurus and Baryonyx. It can be assumed that its body length was about 23 feet, which makes it a fairly large predator for its time. Ostafricosaurus, like other Spinosaurids, was probably a semi-aquatic predator. His teeth, designed for catching and holding slippery prey, indicate that it could hunt fish and other aquatic or semi-aquatic animals. Ostafricosaurus may have lived near rivers and lakes, where it could have used its adaptations to hunt aquatic prey. Another ancestor of Spinosaurus. The history of the discovery of the Irritator is full of oddities. His remains were discovered in the Santana Formation, known for its well-preserved fossils. But here's what's interesting. When paleontologists began to study the found skull, they discovered that someone had already worked on this skull before them. Unknown researchers have attempted to restore the skull by adding plaster to it and even changing its shape to make it more attractive for sale. This, of course, caused great irritation among scientists, so the dinosaur was called an irritator. From the English word irritate, which means to irritate. Irritator was a relatively large dinosaur, reaching a length of about 26 feet and weighing approximately 1 ton. It had a long, narrow snout that resembled that of a crocodile, one of the key features characteristic of Spinosaurids. This snout was equipped with numerous teeth, ideal for capturing slippery prey such as fish. In addition, the Irritator's skull was reinforced with bone ridges, which gave it an even more menacing appearance. Although it is not known for sure whether Irritator had a dorsal sail like its later relative Spinosaurus, its anatomy still indicates that it was a semi-aquatic predator that spent a lot of time in the water. Cristachosaurus. This mysterious predator lived about 112 million years ago, in the early Cretaceous period, in the territory of modern Africa, including the territory of Niger. Like other Spinosaurids, Cristatosaurus had characteristic features that made it unique among other dinosaurs. It had a long, narrow snout, similar to a crocodile, which is a common feature among this group of predators. Its body length was estimated to be approximately 22 feet, making it a relatively large predator of its time, although smaller compared to later, larger Spinosaurids such as Spinosaurus. The skull of the Cristatosaurus was equipped with sharp teeth, which were ideal for capturing and holding fish, its main prey. Although we do not have a complete picture of this dinosaur's appearance, it is believed that it may have had a small dorsal sail or crest on its back, as reflected in its name. Cristatus means crest in Latin. This crest could play a role in thermoregulation or serve for display among relatives. Cristatosaurus is an important link in the evolution of Spinosaurids, as it represents an early stage in the development of this group. It helps us understand how these dinosaurs adapted to a semi-aquatic environment and how they gradually became some of the most unique and specialized predators in dinosaur history. Studying Crustatosaurus also helps fill gaps in our understanding of the evolution of Spinosaurids in Africa, where they reached their peak. And this is Iberospin. Iberospinus is an extremely primitive member of the family that lived in the early Cretaceous period 125 million years ago. However, it already shows adaptations to a semi-aquatic lifestyle, which was later adopted by Spinosaurines and Baryonychines. This Spinosaurin is also worth noting. Wallabanavenatrix. Wallabanavenatrix was a medium-sized Spinosaurid, estimated to be about a foot long and weighing up to 2 tons. Like other Spinosaurids, it had a long, narrow snout that resembled that of a crocodile, and was equipped with numerous sharp teeth ideal for capturing and holding fish. One of the features of Wallabanavenatrix was the structure of its spine, which indicated the presence of a high dorsal crest or sail. This crest was probably used for thermoregulation or for display among conspecifics. Such adaptations could also play a role in the lives of these predators, helping them attract attention during mating rituals or scare away competitors. Like other Spinosaurids, Wallabanavenatrix probably led a semi-aquatic lifestyle. She lived near rivers, lakes, and swamps, where she hunted large fish and other aquatic animals. Its long jaws and sharp teeth were ideal for catching slippery prey, and its semi-aquatic lifestyle made it a formidable predator in this environment. In addition to fish, Wallabanatrix may have preyed on other small animals, including amphibians, reptiles, and perhaps even young dinosaurs. This versatility made it a successful predator, capable of obtaining food both in water and on land. Cameralosaurus. This ancient Spinosaurid was likely a descendant of Wallabanavenatrix or descended from a common ancestor, making it a possible first Spinosaurin. Although its position is somewhat controversial due to the fragmentary nature of the remains, we can say for sure that this is a Spinosaurid. True, it was initially classified as a primitive ceratosaur. Cameralosaurus is the smallest Spinosaurid found to date. Oxalea. One of the largest and most impressive representatives of Spinosaurids, which lived in the territory of modern Brazil approximately 100 to 95 million years ago, in the mid-Cretaceous period. This dinosaur deserves special attention not only because of its impressive size, but also because it is one of the largest predators that ever existed in South America. Oxalea is named after the Afro-Brazilian deity Oxala, reflecting the cultural significance of the region where her remains were found. Despite the limited fossil evidence, scientists have been able to draw some important conclusions about its size and place in the evolution of Spinosaurids. Her story reminds us that even fragmentary finds can provide enormous amounts of information about life on Earth millions of years ago. Oxalea is another prime example of how nature has experimented with shapes and adaptations to create amazing creatures that continue to amaze and inspire us to this day. Finally, at the top of this evolutionary ladder stands the Spinosaurus itself. It combines all the features of its ancestors and adds its own unique features. A huge sail on its back that made it look like a cross between a dinosaur and a sailboat, and a completely aquatic lifestyle. Spinosaurus was a gigantic dinosaur that could reach 50 feet in length and was estimated to weigh 7 to 9 tons. But what really sets Spinosaurus apart is its unique dorsal sail, made up of long bony projections connected by skin. This sail could reach a height of up to 7 feet and gave Spinosaurus a truly impressive appearance. Spinosaurus was likely a strong swimmer, and its long, powerful body, reminiscent of modern crocodiles, allowed it to move efficiently in the water. Its semi-aquatic lifestyle also made it unique among theropods, the group to which Spinosaurus belonged. He probably spent most of his time in the water, hunting fish and other aquatic animals. The evolution of mosasaurs is a remarkable journey from small land-dwelling lizards to the giant sea predators that dominated the oceans of the Cretaceous period. To understand how mosasaurs evolved, we need to look at their ancestors, starting with the earliest reptiles. Kegonaeus. It was a small aquatic lizard with a snake-like body and short limbs. It is likely that it was this animal that gave rise to all the ancestors of the Mosasaurus. Little is known about this lizard, so we immediately move on to the next ancestors of our main character. Euparkeria lizards, or Euparkearpodon. Euparkeria, which lived about 245 million years ago, is one of the oldest archosaurs, from which many groups of reptiles, including mosasaurs, evolved. These small reptiles were flexible and active hunters who could move on land and in water, which gave them a huge advantage in the changing conditions of the Triassic period. Although they were not yet specialized marine animals, their anatomy became the basis for the subsequent evolution of more specialized forms. Monitor lizards and Agama or Aigilosauridae. Approximately 100 to 95 million years ago, the first true ancestors of mosasaurs appeared monitor lizard-like reptiles from the family Aigilosauridae. These reptiles were significantly smaller than their mosasaurian descendants, reaching lengths of about 5 feet. They led a semi-aquatic lifestyle, hunting fish and small aquatic animals in coastal areas. Aigilosauridae had elongated bodies and jaws, but still retained well-developed limbs, which allowed them to move on land. Their skin was scaly, like modern monitor lizards, and they had strong, curved teeth for capturing and holding prey. Transitional forms. Dalahide or Dallosaurus. About 98 million years ago, Dallosaurus entered the evolutionary scene as one of the transitional forms between Aigilosauridae and the more specialized mosasaurs. This lizard was about 3 feet long and had more developed flipper-like limbs, which indicates its greater affinity for the aquatic environment. Dallosaurus was relatively small, but its anatomy shows important steps in the evolution of mosasaurs. The flippers became more suitable for swimming, and the tail began to turn into a powerful tool for movement in the water. These features make it an important link between terrestrial ancestors and later mosasaurs. Early mosasaurs. Cleidasts. Cleidasts, which appeared about 95 million years ago, were among the first true mosasaurs. They reached lengths of up to 13 feet and already had the characteristic features that made them effective marine predators: a long, flexible body, a powerful, bladed tail that helped them move quickly through the water, and flipper-like limbs. Cleidasts were active hunters, feeding on fish, ammonites, and other marine animals. Their jaws could move apart, allowing them to swallow large prey whole. This was an important adaptation that allowed mosasaurs to become the dominant predators in their ecosystems. Platycarpus. We spent all our time in the water, meeting even when we were aground. The swimming method was reminiscent of modern sharks. They ate various fish and cephalopods. It is possible that they acted like modern seals, prowling the approaches to the shore and chasing down frightened prey. Tylosaurs. Tylosaurs, reaching lengths of up to 50 feet, were among the largest mosasaurs and lived about 85 to 80 million years ago. They represented the pinnacle of the evolutionary development of mosasaurs, possessing all the necessary adaptations for life in the open ocean. Their elongated bodies and powerful tails allowed them to develop great speed in the water, and their teeth and jaws were ideal for capturing and holding large prey. Tylosaurs likely hunted everything they came across, including large fish, plesiosaurs, and even other mosasaurs. They were true sea giants, dominating their ecosystems. Mosasaurus, which appeared about 70 million years ago, became one of the last and largest representatives of the group. With a body length of up to 60 feet, it was one of the largest marine predators of all time. The Mosasaurus had powerful jaws capable of crushing even the toughest prey, and its tail was equipped with blades, making it an extremely fast swimmer. Mosasaurs lived in different seas around the world, from Europe to North America, and were likely at the top of the food chain in their ecosystems. Their ability to adapt to different environments allowed them to become one of the most successful marine predators of the Cretaceous period. Mosasaurs mastered various ecological niches. Some hunted large prey in the open ocean, while others preferred shallow water areas where they fed on fish and invertebrates. Some mosasaurs even specialized in hunting other marine reptiles, including plesiosaurs. Mosasaurs had unique anatomical features that set them apart from other marine reptiles. Their jaws could be expanded thanks to a flexible joint, which allowed them to swallow large prey whole. They also had secondary teeth on the roof of their mouth that helped hold onto prey until it was completely swallowed. Their fins, although evolved from limbs, still contained residual finger bones, indicating their terrestrial origins. These fins, along with a long tail equipped with fin blades, made mosasaurs one of the fastest and most maneuverable swimmers of their time. Unique adaptations and behaviors. Shark-like teeth. Mosasaurus teeth were designed in such a way that they were constantly replaced with new ones throughout life. This gave mosasaurs a constant advantage in hunting, as they never lost their combat readiness. As soon as a tooth fell out or broke, a new one quickly grew in its place. Flexible jaws. Mosasaurs had a unique jaw structure that allowed them to move their jaws apart. This was similar to how a modern snake can stretch its jaws to swallow large prey whole. This adaptation allowed mosasaurs to cope with large marine animals such as fish, plesiosaurs, and even other mosasaurs. Acoustic communication. Some scientists suggest that mosasaurs may have used sound to communicate, much like modern whales and dolphins. Their skull structure may have allowed them to produce low-frequency sounds that traveled long distances underwater, helping them find mates or hunt in murky waters. Swimming at high speed. Despite their large size, mosasaurs were excellent swimmers. Their body was adapted for fast and maneuverable movement in water, which allowed them to hunt effectively and avoid danger. Their flexible tail and flipper-like limbs made them one of the fastest predators of their time. Interaction with other species. Competition with plesiosaurs. Mosasaurs shared their water spaces with other large marine reptiles such as plesiosaurs and pliosaurs. Although these species often hunted different prey, in some cases they could compete for food resources, especially when prey became scarcer. Cannibalism among mosasaurs. There is evidence that mosasaurs may have practiced cannibalism. The fossils show bite marks on the bones that match the teeth of other mosasaurs. This could occur in the event of a fight for territory, food, or while hunting for wounded or young individuals. Hunting for flying reptiles. Mosasaurs weren't limited to underwater prey. They could also hunt pterosaurs, flying reptiles that probably sometimes descended to the water to drink or catch fish. Mosasaurs could suddenly surface and snatch pterosaurs out of the air. Physical features and species diversity. Variety of sizes and shapes. Mosasaurs ranged in size from relatively small species about 10 feet long to giant ones such as Mosasaurus, which reached lengths of up to 60 feet. This diversity allowed mosasaurs to occupy different ecological niches in marine ecosystems. Variety of teeth. Different species of mosasaurs had different tooth shapes adapted for different prey. Some species had sharp teeth for capturing fish, while others had more massive teeth for crushing hard prey such as ammonites and mollusks. Tail evolution. The tail of mosasaurs gradually evolved to become more suitable for swimming. Early mosasaurs had relatively straight tails, but later species such as Tylosaurus developed a distinctive vertical bladed fin shape, making them even more efficient swimmers. Geographical distribution and archaeological finds. Wide habitat. Mosasaurs have been found on every continent, including North and South America, Europe, Africa, and Antarctica. This indicates that they were an extremely successful group of marine predators, adapted to a variety of climates. Fossils of mosasaurs in Antarctica. One of the most exciting discoveries was the remains of a Mosasaurus discovered in Antarctica. These fossils show that mosasaurs lived even in polar waters, confirming their wide geographic distribution. Rare skin fossils. Rare skin impressions of mosasaurs have been found in some places, showing that they had scaly skin reminiscent of that of modern monitor lizards and snakes. This confirms that mosasaurs, despite their aquatic adaptations, retained the features of their land ancestors. Mosasaurs reached their peak at the end of the Cretaceous period, several million years before the mass extinction caused by a meteorite impact about 66 million years ago. This extinction event, known as the KPG, Cenozoic Cretaceous Boundary Crisis event, wiped out not only the dinosaurs, but also most large marine reptiles, including mosasaurs. This catastrophic event caused significant changes in climate and ecosystems, leading to the extinction of many species, including mosasaurs. Mosasaurs, like many other large marine animals, were unable to adapt to sudden changes in living conditions and became extinct. Legacy of the mosasaurs. Mosasaurs left a significant legacy in the history of the Earth. Their fossils have been found all over the world, from Europe to North and South America, as well as Africa and New Zealand. They occupied the top of the food chain in their ecosystems, and their disappearance left an empty niche that was later filled by other marine predators such as sharks and whales. The evolution of mosasaurs demonstrates how reptiles can adapt to completely new living conditions and become dominant predators in new environments. These amazing sea lizards remain one of the most fascinating chapters in the history of life on Earth, reminding us of just how diverse and dynamic the Mesozoic world was. The evolution of raptors is the fascinating story of how small, fast predators evolved into some of the most intelligent and successful dinosaurs. Raptors, or dromaeosaurids. Dromaeosauridae are a group of theropods that lived during the late Jurassic and Cretaceous periods, from 160 to 66 million years ago. They are known for their sharp claws, fast running, and advanced intelligence. The evolution of raptors also gave rise to modern birds, making them a key group in studying the transition from dinosaurs to birds. Eoraptor is one of the oldest dinosaurs that lived about 231 million years ago in the Triassic period. It was a small and light predator, making it an important figure in understanding the early evolution of dinosaurs. To understand how Eoraptor came to be, let's look at its ancestors, the reptiles that lived before it and laid the foundation for the evolution of dinosaurs. Early ancestors, Protoves and Eoraptor. The evolution of raptors begins with primitive theropods that appeared about 230 million years ago in the Triassic period. These early ancestors were small carnivores that walked on two legs and fed on small animals and insects. These early ancestors laid the foundations for the development of dromaeosaurids such as Velociraptor. But the same Eoraptor also had ancestors. Early archosaurs, proto-archosaurs, Proterosuchidae. Eoraptor comes from a group of archosaurs, the ancestors of dinosaurs, crocodiles, and birds. Some of the most ancient archosaurs were proto-archosaurs, which lived at the beginning of the Triassic period, about 250 million years ago. These animals were small, predatory reptiles that had long bodies and powerful jaws. Proto-archosaurs were not yet as advanced as their descendants, but they already possessed a number of features that foreshadowed the development of dinosaurs. This is bipedal locomotion, a light body and adaptation to a predatory lifestyle. These reptiles gradually evolved and gave rise to more advanced forms that played an important role in the evolution of Eoraptor. Pseudosuchia, early archosaurs approximately 245 to 230 million years ago. Pseudosuchia appeared a group of archosaurs that were already a more advanced form compared to proto-archosaurs. They were predatory reptiles with powerful jaws and teeth that began to develop more efficient methods of locomotion. An important feature of pseudosuchians was their ability to move on both 2 and 4 legs, which helped them to be flexible hunters. Although they were not the direct ancestors of dinosaurs, pseudosuchians shared common ancestors with them and helped shape key traits such as long limbs, making them fast and efficient predators. Lagosuchus, the direct ancestor of dinosaurs, one of the closest ancestors of Eoraptor is Lagosuchus, which lived about 240 million years ago. Lagosuchus was a small bipedal predator about 3 feet long, and its skeletal structure is remarkably similar to early dinosaurs. Lagosuchus had a light build, long hind legs and short forelimbs, which allowed him to move quickly on 2 legs. This makes it an important link in dinosaur evolution because its anatomy shows how early archosaurs began to develop the ability to walk bipedally. Lagosuchus probably hunted insects and small animals using its speed and agility. Merosuchus marcosuchus, which lived about 235 million years ago, was another ancestor of Eoraptor and represented an intermediate link between archosaurs and true dinosaurs. It was slightly larger than Lagosuchus and a more specialized predator, hunting small prey. Marcosuchus already possessed a number of key features that distinguished it from early archosaurs, such as a lighter skeleton and more developed hind limbs, which allowed it to reach high speeds when moving. Marcosuchus was bipedal and could probably run quickly using its long hind legs. Its forelimbs remained relatively short, indicating a transition from quadrupedal locomotion to full bipedalism. Evolutionary steps to Eoraptor towards the end of the Triassic period, about 235 to 230 million years ago. There was a further division of archosaurs into two key areas: the ancestors of dinosaurs and the ancestors of crocodilians. Eoraptor and its closest relatives were on the line that led to the evolution of dinosaurs. Eoraptor was one of the first dinosaurs to exhibit fully developed traits, such as bipedal locomotion and a predatory lifestyle. Unlike its ancestors, such as Lagosuchus and Marcosuchus, Eoraptor was already a full-fledged representative of dinosaurs, although it retained many primitive features. It reached about 3 feet in length, had sharp teeth suitable for hunting meat, and long hind legs, making it a fast and agile predator. Basal dinosaurs, predecessors of Eoraptor before the emergence of Eoraptor. Basal dinosaurs such as Saturnalia began to develop more modern features that led to the theropods. These basal dinosaurs were small bipedal predators and herbivores that began to develop the bone structure and movement system characteristic of Eoraptor. Saturnalia was one of the first primitive dinosaurs and may have represented a transitional form between early archosaurs and more advanced dinosaurs such as Eoraptor. Middle Jurassic theropods, the appearance of the first dromaeosaurs around 160 million years ago. During the Middle Jurassic period, more advanced theropods began to appear, which became the basis for the evolution of raptors. One of these early representatives is Sinraptor, the ancestor of more specialized predators. During this period, dinosaurs began to develop features common to raptors: light bodies, long hind legs, and claws for hunting. It is also important to mention Archaeopteryx, who lived about 150 million years ago. Although it is often seen as a transitional link between dinosaurs and birds, it was also related to dromaeosaurids. Archaeopteryx had feathers and could glide from trees, which would also become one of the key features of raptor evolution. Late Jurassic dromaeosaurs, emergence of key adaptations by the late Jurassic, about 150 million years ago, the first true dromaeosaurids appear, such as Maacala and Giravenator. These dinosaurs possessed key adaptations that made dromaeosaurids successful predators. Sharp sickle-shaped claws on their hind legs, powerful forelimbs for grasping prey, and enhanced sensory organs. These dinosaurs were small, about 3 feet in length, and led an active predatory lifestyle. Their claws were their main weapon. They used them to hold and tear apart their prey. It's also important to note that some dromaeosaurs may have had feathers at this stage, making them the ancestors of modern birds. Cretaceous period. Peak development of dromaeosaurs. By the Cretaceous period, dromaeosaurids reached the peak of their development and expansion. It was during this period that such famous representatives as Velociraptor, Deinonychus, and Utahraptor appeared. These dinosaurs had a number of unique traits that made them one of the most effective predators of their time. Velociraptor is one of the most famous dromaeosaurs, reaching a length of about 7 feet and weighing up to 15 kilograms. Velociraptor was a light, fast, and extremely intelligent predator. It had sickle-shaped claws on its hind legs, which it used to tear apart its prey. Although its size was small, it was able to hunt prey significantly larger than its own size due to its speed and organized hunting. Deinonychus, about 115 to 108 million years ago, was somewhat larger than Velociraptor, reaching 10 feet in length. It had the same sickle-shaped claws and feathers, and some paleontologists speculate that Deinonychus may have hunted in packs, making them even more dangerous predators. Utahraptor, about 126 million years ago, is one of the largest dromaeosaurids, reaching a length of 23 feet and a weight of up to 500 kilograms. It was a true giant among raptors, but despite its size, it still retained its light build and powerful claws on its hind legs. Its size allowed it to hunt large dinosaurs such as sauropods. Intelligence and social behavior. Raptors, especially species like Velociraptor and Deinonychus, may have been quite intelligent for dinosaurs. They had relatively large brains compared to their body size, indicating advanced sensory organs and possibly complex behavioral patterns. One hypothesis is that raptors may have hunted in packs, making them organized predators. Their coordination in hunting allowed them to cope with larger dinosaurs by attacking from different directions at the same time. This is another trait that makes raptors unique among other theropods. Feathers. Connection with birds. Modern research confirms that many dromaeosaurs, including Velociraptor, had feathers. The feathers were probably used for insulation, display, and in some cases for gliding or jumping from trees. This feature provides further evidence that dromaeosaurs were the ancestors of modern birds. Transition to birds. The evolution of aviation. Towards the end of the Cretaceous period, about 66 million years ago, some dromaeosaurs began to develop lighter skeletons and structures suitable for flight. This led to the appearance of the first true birds, such as Microraptor. Microraptor was a small, feathered dinosaur that could glide from trees thanks to 4 wings located on its fore and hind limbs. This transition from land-based predators to flying forms demonstrates how the evolution of raptors culminated with the appearance of birds. The group that was able to survive the mass extinction of dinosaurs. The evolution of raptors is a striking example of how dinosaurs were able to adapt to different ecological niches and become one of the most successful predators of their time. From their primitive ancestors in the Triassic to the emergence of the first birds, raptors have come a long way, full of adaptations that have allowed them to remain at the top of the food chain. Why did dinosaurs become dinosaurs? This release will not be quite ordinary. In it we will talk about why people began to call prehistoric creatures dinosaurs. Why dinosaurs, and not some kind of Jabberwocky? It all happened not so long ago, about 300 years ago. Considering that the last dinosaurs went extinct 65 million years ago. One British biologist named Owen was terribly interested in prehistoric creatures. After all, even then, people all over the world found the remains of unknown animals. But the most interesting thing is that these remains were once incredibly huge creatures. And so Owen decided to call these unknown creatures dinosaurs. The word dinosaur comes from the Greek dainos, which means terrible, and sauros, which means lizard. A British scientist gave this term, referring to the size and grandeur of prehistoric animals. Mr. Owen called dinosaurs pachyderms. In the 19th century, people classified large and massively bodied hippos, elephants, and rhinoceroses as pachyderms. Therefore, the word dinosaur sounds very majestic. When someone found dinosaur bones, myths and legends were immediately born that the remains of terrible giants had been found somewhere. The giant bones found were considered the remains of giant people, which are described even in the Bible. Someone claimed that the bones remained from the time of the Trojan War. These remains may have belonged to Greek and Trojan heroes, and perhaps even the gods of Olympus. In the East, the bones found were considered to be the bones of dragons and attributed healing properties to them. And so one French scientist in 1818 determined that these bones belonged to giant lizards. In 1821, two completely new genera of unknown sea creatures were officially discovered. The first genus was called Ichthyosaurus, or fish lizard. The second genus was given the name Plesiosaurus, which means close to lizards. A year later, two more new genera were discovered. These are Mosasaurus, or Mosa river lizard, and Megalosaurus, which means huge lizard. 2 years later, new remains of an unknown creature were found in southern England. And after research, the fossil received a name Iguanodon. The name translates as iguana tooth, due to the similarity of the teeth of the found prehistoric reptile and the modern one. In the summer of 1832, during blasting operations at one of the industrial sites in Great Britain, bones dating back to the early Cretaceous period were discovered. This discovery was reported at a meeting of the Geological Society, and these remains were given the name Hylaeosaurus, which means forest lizard. Hylaeosaurus is a representative of the armored Ankylosaurus. In 1842, scientists created a special suborder, calling it Dinosauria, which means terrible lizards. At the time, it was believed that dinosaurs were huge, slow-moving reptiles that walked on four legs. And therefore, in the vicinity of London, sculptures of antediluvian reptiles were installed, as they were represented in the 19th century. Let's leave the UK and move to the American continent. The first dinosaur remains found in North America consisted of individual teeth. 3 different types of dinosaurs. The first species was Trachodon, or rough tooth, which belonged to hadrosaurs. The second species was Trudon, or wounding tooth, which was a small theropod. The third species was Dienodon, or terrible tooth, which represented the tyrannosaurs. It was at that time that these discoveries changed the opinion of scientists that all dinosaurs were four-legged. The time of great paleontological discoveries has begun. It was truly the great dinosaur race. In a very short time, several species of herbivorous dinosaurs from the genus Diplodocus were discovered. These are Camarasaurus, Apatosaurus, and Brontosaurus. several species of prehistoric predators and herbivores were also discovered. Allosaurus and Ceratosaurus, Stegosaurus, Monoclonus, and Triceratops. One after another, species of duck-billed dinosaurs appeared. These are Corythosaurus, Lambeosaurus, Saurolophus, Parasaurolophus, and many others. From the Ceratopsian genus, such species as Centrosaurus, Styracosaurus, and Pachyrhinosaurus were discovered. The species of predators of that time stood out especially clearly. Tyrannosaurids. These are Albertosaurus, Gorgosaurus, Daspletosaurus, and of course the Tyrannosaurus itself. In 1859, a British biologist made an astonishing discovery that changed our understanding of evolution. The scientist suggested that birds are descendants of dinosaurs. He studied the skeletons of Compsognathus, a small theropod dinosaur, and Archaeopteryx, an ancient bird. Both of these fossils were found in the same place. Comparing these skeletons, the biologist discovered striking similarities. Archaeopteryx had feathers and wings, but in many other ways its skeleton was very similar to that of Compsognathus. However, not all scientists agreed with their colleague. Some have argued that Archaeopteryx was the first bird not related to dinosaur evolution. Over the next century, the most popular theory remained that birds evolved not from dinosaurs, but from earlier reptiles such as crocodilomorphs and thecodonts. Direct evidence of the presence of feathers in dinosaurs appeared only in the mid-90s of the 20th century. In one Chinese province, numerous remains of small carnivorous dinosaurs with amazing feather imprints were discovered. These findings became a sensation in the world of paleontology, confirming the theory that many dinosaurs, including the ancestors of modern birds, were covered with feathers. These feathered dinosaurs helped scientists better understand the evolution of birds and confirmed the connection between ancient reptiles and modern feathered inhabitants of our planetity. Sinosauropteryx, Caudipteryx, and even Microraptor with full-fledged bird feathers convinced the scientific community of the plumage of theropods, members of a large group of coelurosaurs, including the famous Tyrannosaurs. The presence of hair in Tyrannosaurids was confirmed in 2012 after the discovery of Yutyrannus. Today, scientists have firmly established that 8 families of carnivorous dinosaurs from the theropod suborder had feathers. In addition, some ornithischian dinosaurs, such as Psittacosaurus, Tyanulong, and Calindrodromeus, may have had feathers. These discoveries greatly expanded our understanding of the appearance and evolution of dinosaurs, revealing that feathers were much more common among these ancient animals than previously thought. The discovery of dinosaurs such as Velociraptor, Oviraptor, and Protoceratops changed our understanding of giant dinosaurs, demonstrating that carnivorous dinosaurs could have been quite small. During Soviet-Mongolian expeditions in the 40s of the 20th century, Tarbosaurus, a relative of the famous T-Rex, and an unusual Therizinosaurus were found. In 1965, the giant Deinocheira was discovered. Long-necked sauropods such as Mamenchosaurus and Omisaurus, as well as large predators such as Yangwinosaurus, Sinraptor, and Gigantoraptor, have been found in China. In addition, many small feathered dinosaurs were discovered. The latest discoveries take us to South America, to Argentina. In 1985, Argentine paleontologists reported the discovery of 2 new predatory dinosaurs, Carnotaurus and Abelisaurus, belonging to a new family of theropods. In 1993, the remains of the largest titanosaur, Argentinosaurus, were found. And in 1995, the remains of one of the largest predators in the world, Giganotosaurus. These discoveries continue to expand our understanding of Earth's ancient inhabitants and their diversity. In the first half of the 20th century, the scientific community mistakenly believed that dinosaurs were slow and bulky creatures. However, starting in the 1970s, research began to show that dinosaurs were active animals with high metabolic rates. Moreover, they developed various features for social interaction, which greatly changed humanity's views on their behavior and ecology. Do not forget from which animals the first dinosaurs appeared. Of course, from archosaurs. Here are some species that are worth paying attention to. Proterosuchidae, Erythrosuchidae, and Euparkeria, found in geological strata dating back about 250 million years ago, and Middle Triassic archosaurs such as Tissanosuchus, of which crocodiles are also descendants. Other archosaurs that are also close to early dinosaurs include Lagerpetun, Marasuchus, and Silesaurus. The first dinosaurs that we know of were small bipedal predators up to 7 feet long. The earliest of these include Saurischian dinosaurs such as Nyasasaurus, Saturnalia, Herrerasaurus, Storchosaurus, Eoraptor, and Alwalkeria. These dinosaurs laid the foundation for the evolution of many future species. Early theropods, such as members of the group Coelophysoidea, including Coelophysis and Tawahali, lived in the late Triassic and early Jurassic. These predators showed that dinosaurs could be quite active and fast. The largest early predators included ceratosaurs, followed by basal titanosaurids, including megalosaurids and spinosaurs. Fossils of these dinosaurs date from the mid-Jurassic to the end of the early Cretaceous, about 180 to 94 million years ago. Research suggests that these groups of dinosaurs diverged from the evolutionary line leading to the feathered coelurosaurs, which further led to the emergence of diverse and specialized predators. Among the early Ornithischian dinosaurs, Pisanosaurus and Lesothosaurus were discovered. The Heterodontosaurus studied around the same time was about 3 feet long, had relatively long forelimbs, and had long fangs in its upper and lower jaws. Agilosaurus was also discovered from the Jurassic period in China. Ornithischian dinosaurs are divided into 3 main groups: Thyreophora, ornithopods, and marginocephalans. Thyreophora, such as ankylosaurs and stegosaurs, had powerful armor that protected them from predators. Ornithopods, including Hypsilophodonts and hadrosaurs, were unarmored, but compensated for this by being fast and able to form groups. Marginocephals include Pachycephalosaurids and Ceratopsians, which stood out for their bizarre bony growths and horns, which were used for protection and in mating rituals. Thyreophora were distinguished by the presence of shells consisting of individual scuts or plates, which was their most striking feature. The earliest known Thyreophora was Scutellosaurus, which lived about 196 million years ago. Although its shell was similar to that of later Thyreophora such as stegosaurs and ankylosaurs, it otherwise resembled Lesothosaurus. Scutellosaurus had a long tail and could move on both 2 and 4 legs, which distinguished it from subsequent Thyreophora. Eoraptor, one of the most famous early dinosaurs, represented an important stage in evolution. Although Thyreophora and early dinosaurs such as Eoraptor were very different in appearance, They had in common that they were at the origin of the enormous diversity of dinosaurs that existed during the Mesozoic era. Herbivorous dinosaurs such as giant sauropods and armored ankylosaurs and stegosaurs typically had small brains. Even later herbivorous dinosaurs such as Edmontosaurus, although having slightly larger brains, were still inferior in this regard to carnivorous dinosaurs. Predatory theropods tended to have relatively large brains and well-developed vision, which were necessary for successfully hunting fast prey. For example, T. rex had a particularly large brain compared to other carnivorous dinosaurs. At the top of the evolutionary chain of intelligence were theropods, most closely related to modern birds. Small dromaeosaurids such as Velociraptor and trudentids such as Truden had brains comparable in size to those of modern birds. They also had large eyes, indicating advanced binocular vision, which allowed them to see in three-dimensional space, as well as keen hearing, making them one of the most intelligent and efficient hunters of their time. The study of dinosaur intelligence is often based on modern ideas about the intelligence of birds. Birds are traditionally considered less intelligent than mammals, and measuring their intelligence poses significant challenges. Many behavioral traits that may appear to be intelligence are often the result of instinct or imitation. Anatomically, birds had relatively large brains compared to the size of their heads. Most species had well-developed vision and hearing, while the sense of touch and smell were developed only in some groups. Birds are capable of complex forms of communication using visual signals, sounds, and songs. These traits may also be shared by their dinosaur ancestors, indicating their potential for complex behavior and communication. Thank you for watching our episode. Give it a thumbs up and leave your comments. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And also press the bell so you don't miss new and interesting videos from the Real Unreal channel.